from the very beginning. When our group was whittled down to a trembling horde outside the iron gate of Game 001, we knew this game was different. We didn't know how, exactly. All we knew was that what lay beyond the threshold wasn't like anything we'd encountered before. And now, shivering and shaken, we were being led by the ever-stoic soldier to the rig's exterior. There, strung out over the churning black ocean below, was a network of rusted, narrow gantries. Bridges that looked more like the scaffolding of some forgotten construction project than a means of navigating the yawning abyss between the rig and the shore. Looking out over the stormy waters, I could see nothing but rolling waves and an unnatural fog that seemed to ooze up from the depths itself. The path ahead disappeared into this gloom, giving us no idea what awaited us at the other end. What I did know, however, was that this was the second game of the chthonic circuit. Game 002, the Abyssal Crossing. As we approached, the soldier raised a gloved hand, halting our advance. Taking a deep breath, he spoke, his voice echoing with the weight of what was to come. Game 2, the Abyssal Crossing, he announced. Reach the far platform, but watch your step. Not all paths are stable, and the depths are ... hungry. His last words hung in the air, a warning carried on the salty wind. I glanced back at the rig, realizing with a jolt that there was no turning back. The only way forward was into the churning darkness below. It was a gauntlet over the abyss. We had to cross, and yet even as I moved forward, my heart pounded in my chest, urging me to flee. But flight wasn't an option. The rickety gantries offered the only way across. Taking another deep breath, steeling myself for what lay ahead, I stepped onto the first gantry. Beneath my boots, the corroded metal groaned, swaying precariously above the churning waves below. Beside me, Gemin and the scholar exchanged uneasy glances, their faces pale in the dim light. Despite the danger, there was no mistaking the determination in their eyes. As we moved forward, the rocking of the gantries beneath our feet increased, growing more pronounced with every step. The path ahead of us, if we could call it that, stretched over the abyss, exposed and terrifying. The open ocean swayed below, its surface a maelstrom of churning black waves and frothing spray. Occasionally, a wave would crash against the rig's legs, sending out a shudder that ran through the gantries, threatening to send us plunging into the depths below. In the distance, I could hear the sound of the ocean, a low, constant roar that seemed to emanate from the very core of the earth. It was a haunting sound, one that seemed to speak of ancient, unimaginable horrors that lurked in the darkest depths. Ahead of me, the man closest suddenly stumbled, losing his balance on the narrow bridge. Without thinking, I reached out, grabbing his arm just in time to keep him from falling. He stared at me, his eyes wide with panic and gratitude. "Thanks," he gasped, scrambling to regain his footing. "Sorry," I managed, my heart pounding in my chest. I helped him to his feet. But my concern for the man was quickly replaced by a surge of adrenaline, as I realized we were in real danger. Some sections of the grating beneath us were rusted and buckled, threatening to collapse at any moment. Others were completely missing, leaving gaping holes that yawned beneath our feet. I forced myself to look away, focusing instead on the rhythmic sway of the gantries. But even as I tried to steady myself, the ground beneath me seemed to drop away, sending me off balance. I gripped the corroded handrail, knuckles turning white as I fought to regain my footing. When I dared to glance down again, what I saw made my blood run cold. The ocean below was no longer just a churning mass of black waves. It was alive, or rather it was trying to be. The man ahead screamed as a section of grating gave way beneath him. He fell, his cry cut short, not by the impact, but by a colossal, shadowy mass that breached the surface just long enough to engulf him in a spray of water and snapping beaks hidden within a writhing nest of tentacles. The glimpse was brief, but monstrous, something ancient and vast. Then the real horror began. From the dark water below, long prehensile tentacles, pale and slick, began to rise. Not from one creature, but dozens. They quested along the gantries, feeling for vibrations, for warmth. One whipped past Jimin's face, leaving a trail of foul-smelling slime in its wake. Another wrapped around the ankle of a woman 2 gantries over. She shrieked, clawing at the metal, as the powerful limb dragged her, shrieking over the edge and into the waiting darkness. More tentacles snaked upwards, probing, grabbing. Adrenaline surged through me, banishing fear. I couldn't save the man who'd fallen before, but I wouldn't stand by and watch everyone else meet the same fate. Without thinking, I sprang into action. I leaped over gaps, slid under grasping limbs, scrambling over the unstable gantries as fast as I could. The chittering and wet slaps echoing all around. Behind me, the gantries became a feeding zone. Other players weren't just falling prey to the creatures below. They were being plucked, screaming into the depths by the unseen horrors beneath the waves. But I couldn't afford to help them. My only focus was reaching the far platform, which finally came into view through a gap in the tentacles. With a burst of energy, I scrambled through, collapsing onto the cold metal. Gasping, I turned to look back at the carnage behind me. The colossal tentacle that had snagged the man before, thick as a tree trunk and covered in barnacles the size of fists, slammed down onto the gantry I'd just vacated. The metal buckled and tore like tinfoil, crumbling beneath the immense pressure. More tentacles rose from the depths, slamming against the rig's legs, seeking purchase. Seeking a way to breach the safety of the platform I now occupied. Below, the ocean churned restlessly, like a wounded beast thrashing in a net. I could hear the maddened screeching of the creatures as they thrashed against the metal. Unable to reach me here on the far platform? But even in my relief at having survived the crossing, a new fear took root. If these monstrosities couldn't reach us here, then why did the soldier lead us to this forsaken place? What purpose did this macabre game serve? Suddenly, the soldier materialized beside me, his expression grim. "That was game 002, he said, his voice tight. "But the game is not over yet. You have reached the halfway point." He gestured out to the swirling mists below. "There is still one more game, the final test of your will and endurance." His words were cut short by a deafening roar from below. From the churning depths, a new and even larger tentacle erupted, coiling around the rig's leg like a python seizing its prey. Its tip, a gaping maws lined with rows upon rows of needle-sharp teeth, snapped shut just inches from where I stood. As if in answer to the tentacle's challenge, a guttural voice echoed from the darkness below, a voice ancient and filled with malice. "Oh, so some I found their way to the surface. Very well. Let us see if they have the wit to escape the Abyssal Maw." At his words, more tentacles lashed out, smashing against the rig, seeking purchase. The Abyssal Maw. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. This was more than a game. This was a fight for our very survival. And the stakes, it seemed, could not be higher. We were trapped in a nightmare from which there seemed to be no escape. But even in the face of this cosmic horror, a single thought echoed within me. I won't give up. I won't surrender to this nightmare. I'm going home.